Hello students. So in last video we have discussed till gibberellins. Now we will move to the next phytohormone or the plant hormone, that is cytokinins. So now we will look into the functions of cytokinins. So cytokinin promotes cell division, cell enlargement and cell differentiation, and it is used in tissue cultures. So you know that what is cell division? Cell division is nothing but cell divides further into daughter cells for the growth, and cell enlargement is nothing but cell expansion, and cell differentiation is nothing but, for example, meristematic cells will lose the power of cell division and they are converted into permanent cells with definite shape, definite size and definite function. So this division of labor is called as what? Cell differentiation. And what is tissue culture? So this tissue culture, in the next chapter we are going to discuss, that is how do organism reproduces. They prevent aging of plants, they inhibit apical dominance and help in growth of lateral buds. So in the diagram I have shown one apical bud and another lateral bud. So apical bud is active and the lateral bud is dormant, that is inactive. So what the cytokinin will do? It inhibits apical dominance, means it will stop the growth of apical bud and it helps to grow the lateral buds. Because if suppose the activity of apical bud will not stop, then lateral buds will not grow, because all the food synthesized will be utilized in the apical bud. That's why cytokinin will help to grow the lateral buds and will stop the growth of apical bud. Therefore, it is also known as anti-auxins, because it is working as what? Anti-auxin. Anti refers to opposite. Okay, opposite to auxin. Auxin promotes the growth of what we call as apical bud, but here cytokinin promotes the growth of lateral bud. So this is about cytokinins. Now we'll move to the next. That is growth inhibitors. So growth inhibitors will stop the growth, and in that we have two phytohormones. One is abscisic acid and another is ethylene. So briefly we'll talk about abscisic acid and ethylene, because already in detail I have discussed in the online class. Abscisic acid is, in short, it is also referred as ABA. It induces dormancy of the buds, seeds, okay, as opposed to gibberellins. Gibberellins breaks the dormancy, but abscisic acid what? Induces the dormancy. So gibberellin and abscisic acid are opposite to each other. Abscisic acid involved with leaf and fruit abscission, that is nothing but fall of leaves and fruits. It inhibits or stops the seed germination and development. And abscisic acid also plays important role in controlling stomata opening and closing. Yes, because whenever there is a need in order to prevent the water loss, the stomatas will be closed, and that is under the control of what? Abscisic acid. So closing of stomata, it is shown here. The closing and opening of stomata is under the control of guard cells, and here abscisic acid plays an important role in closing of what? Stomata. Whenever there is a need in order to prevent the water loss, the stomata are closed. Next come to ethylene. So ethylene, this is a gaseous hormone that promotes the ripening of fruit. Yes, it helps in ripening of fruit. In the two diagrams you can see one is banana and another is tomato. During the later stage of fruit development, the ethylene gas fills the intercellular space. The space between the cells is called as what? Intercellular spaces, and that space are filled by the ethylene gas within the fruit cells and stimulates its ripening by enzymatic breakdown of the cell walls. So there are some enzymes. What are enzymes? Enzymes, just I will give you a brief idea about the enzymes as you are going to study in the higher classes about enzymes. Enzymes are nothing but these are the catalysts called as biocatalyst. In each and every living organisms, if any biochemical reaction is to be carried out, it needs an enzyme. So enzyme is a biocatalyst which will help to carry out the reaction very fast. Okay, that are called as what? Enzymes, which are mainly made up of proteins. So that enzyme leads to what we call as breakdown of cell walls. So ethylene is also involved in stimulating the production of flowers. In addition, ethylene in combination with auxin inhibits the elongation of roots, stems, leaves and influences leaf abscission, the aging and dropping of the leaves. So aging and dropping of the leaves, it is also a kind of excretion in the plant. Last chapter we have talked about excretion in the plants in life processes. Okay, so this is about the growth regulators, that is growth promoters and growth inhibitors. Now next we will talk about the movements in the plants, and the movements in the plants are divided into tropic movements and nastic movements. So let us go to the plant movements. So plant movements, in that first of all we are going to talk about phototropism, hydrotropism, geotropism, chemotropism and thigmotropism. Here plant movements are a response to stimulus. So that stimulus may be a light, stimulus may be a water, stimulus may be a gravity, stimulus may be a chemical and stimulus may be a touch. So response to stimulus. And in that first we are talking about the phototropism. So photo refers to light and tropism refers to tropic movement. So in this picture you can see that one potted plant which is kept near the window and it is bending towards the source of light. Source of what? Light. So what is phototropism then? So please listen carefully. A response to stimulus such as light which leads to a growth related movement, and the movement is either towards the source of light or away from the source of light, that is called as phototropism. Now phototropism again is divided into positive phototropism and negative phototropism. If response to stimulus such as light which leads to a growth movement and which is towards the source of light, that is called as positive phototropism, and response to stimulus such as light which leads to a growth movement which is away from the source of light is called as negative phototropism. Example, shoot system moving towards the source of light is positive phototropism and root system moving away from the source of light is negative phototropism. Now next we will talk about the role of auxin in phototropism. So auxin, actually when light falls on the shoot tip, it starts secreting, but it is light sensitive, so it's start moving towards the shaded part of the plant, and the rapid cell division and cell enlargement takes place in the shaded part of the plant, and shaded area grows faster than the lighted area, and because of that the plant or the shoot system is bending towards the source of light. So role of auxin in phototropism is very important. It can be asked in the upcoming board exam. It may be asked, they may ask for 3 marks also with the diagram. They may ask a sub question in 5 marks also. So students, please make a note of it. Role of auxin in phototropism. Next, hydrotropism. Hydrotropism is response to stimulus such as water, which leads to a growth movement, and either the growth movement is towards the source of water or away from the source of water. That is called as hydrotropism. Now in this picture you have observed that in the first beaker there was a moist soil, and in that moist soil the plantlet is growing, and the plantlet is showing the root growth, and the root is growing straight. But in the next picture you can observe that there is a dry soil and there is a moist soil. Again in the moist soil there is a clay pot which is having a water, and the plantlet which is there present in the dry soil will start growing, or the root is start growing towards the moist soil or towards the source of water. So hence it is proved that the roots are moving towards the source of water, and root shows positive hydrotropism and shoot system shows negative hydrotropism. Next, geotropism. Geo refers to earth. So geotropism is related to gravity. Response to stimulus such as a gravity, which leads to a growth movement either towards the source of gravity or away from the source of gravity, is called as geotropism. So you can see that the roots are growing towards the source of gravity, so that's why roots are showing positive geotropism and shoot system shows negative geotropism. My dear students, I am just briefing you about the tropic movements because already in detail I have discussed in the online classes. Next come to chemotropism. Chemotropism, here response to stimulus such as chemicals, and that leads to a growth movement, that is called as chemotropism. So this is a carpel or a pistil which is called as a female reproductive part in the flowering plants. So the carpel is having stigma, style, ovary, and inside the ovary there is an ovule. So here when the pollen grain falls on the stigma, the chemical interaction takes place in the stigma and pollen grain, and stigma will identify the right type of pollen grain and it will allow to grow the pollen grain on the stigma. This is called pollen germination. So the chemotropism example is pollen germination on stigma. So pollen germination is nothing but formation of pollen tube which will carry the male gametes to the ovule for fertilization. Next we'll talk about thigmotropism. So thigmotropism is response to stimulus such as touch. Response to stimulus such as touch, which leads to the growth movement either towards the source of touch or away from the source of touch. So best example is climbers, which are having what? 10 drills. So plants which are having weak stem, they are having tendrils, and these tendrils will help to coil the object. They coil around the object, and the object, if it is object is vertical or horizontal, the climbers will also shows a growth movement along with the object. So here the stem tendrils and the leaf tendrils are showing what we call as the CHEMOTROPISM. So this is about the tropic movements, and tropic movements are mainly growth related movements. So once again I will conclude here. Tropic movements are the response to stimulus which leads to a growth related movements are called as tropic movements. Tropic movements are studied under the following headings, that is phototropism, hydrotropism, geotropism, chemotropism and CHEMOTROPISM. So students, we will talk about nastic moments in the next video. Thank you.